Good morning and welcome to Rise and Unwind, a lifestyle show where we talk about tips, tricks, and fun activities you could do in your own neighborhood. My name's Kayla, and today we've got this.
Leadership, accountability, the ability to make decisions on the fly. Those are all great skills that the corporate environment uses every single day.
I'm born and raised here. I feel like it's missing. Like, you never see the other side of SF. You would either see, like you said, Full House, Mrs. Doubtfire,
You're right.
old school Cuffs with Christian Slater. It was all great, but
Be good people and trying their best in a hard world and realizing that they need their family and they need their community. And, that was the real thrill for me when it came to this job.
All that and more right here on Rise and Unwind.
What if a high school class helped breathe new life into a decades-old murder investigation? That's the incredible true story behind Murder 101. The new docuseries follows students who uncover new leads in a cold case while learning that they can make a real difference. Joining us is director Stacy Lee, who brings this remarkable story to the screen. Stacy, welcome to the show. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you so much.
This whole story starts in a high school sociology class. At what point did you realize this was way bigger than a classroom assignment?
Probably from the very first day. Mr. Campbell brings a lot of main character energy, shall we say. Before I started, I got to witness him in action, teaching actually another class, history, I think it was. And that man knows how to deliver a story. He would just have the plot lines and the drama like ramping up until the final bell where students are like teetering on a cliffhanger. And he just they're dying to come back the next day. And I think what other teacher has students excited to come to class the next day? Not many, that's for sure.
The series follows students investigating the redhead murders. What impressed you the most about the way these young people approach such a difficult and even emotional case?
I think the student's superpower is truly their ability to empathize with the victims. When you see so much true crime, it's oftentimes the hero, the killer becomes somehow the hero. And because these victims were oftentimes the same age as the students, they went missing from malls, they went missing from football matches, places and circumstances that the students themselves are also doing and experiencing at the same time. I think it just hits really different. And so immediately the women become humanized. They become so much more than a statistic or a body found on the side of the road. They start to become like friends or sisters, or, they know that they have loved ones. And then immediately once they start seeing them that way and caring for them that way, they're empowered to share that with the community around them. And truly with cold cases, because it's been so long, the biggest thing to affect change is affecting the change in the community, in the hopes that someone might know something and speak up.
True crime can sometimes focus more on the mystery than the people involved. How important was it for you to keep the victims and their families at the heart of the story?
Incredibly important, because I think that's what the students resonated with as well. My job as a documentary filmmaker is to truly immerse myself in their world so I can most authentically translate that to screen. And, really taking the student's lead, Mr. Campbell's lead, what are they most curious about? What are they most interested in? And oftentimes it was the things we were already feeling ourselves. And my favorite true crime is the true crime when you feel like you're part of it, that you're an investigator on the case as well. And that's how we really wanted this series to feel, that you're following along, you're learning details, you're putting clues together at the same time the students are, so that you're really engaged and you care about it, just as much as they do.
You've directed documentaries about music and culture before. What drew you to true crime, and what made Murder 101 the right project for your first documentary in this genre?
Yeah, great question. I've always loved youth culture and coming of age stories. And I think that there was something incredibly unique about the mashup of these two worlds, right? Like high school life, breakups, prom, graduation, all of these seminal moments in teenage life, juxtaposed side by side with really dark, grisly, intense true crime. I was fascinated by how these two very opposing forces could kind of work together. And I think ultimately the effect is you just start to turn the genre on its head. You start to see a genre that is, very well played out in today's culture in a new light. You see the victims differently, but most importantly, as I expressed earlier, it's you start to see the teenagers differently, what they're capable of when you actually believe in them.
What do you hope viewers take away, not just from the investigation, but from seeing what these students were able to accomplish?
I think one of the biggest Trojan horses in this story is about the power of a really good teacher. The effect of this real world learning of giving the students real stakes changes the way they care about and engage with the material that they're interacting with. The education system obviously really leans into testing and things like that allows us to like standardize a large population. But real world learning is unpredictable. It is, has all these things that are quite challenging to kind of govern, but it also has a profound effect on the students who can engage with it in a meaningful way. And I think that for me, opens up a much larger conversation about how we teach teenagers. Is it that they're just not concentrating or not learning? Or is it that they're not engaged? Does it not have a real world impact on their lives and what they're going to, face as they leave high school?
Hey, I want to thank you for joining me today. Murder 101 is streaming now on Prime Video, where all 3 episodes are available to watch. Stacy Lee, I want to thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Have you ever taken a dream opportunity only to realize something feels very wrong? That's the setup behind Strung, the new Peacock thriller from acclaimed filmmaker Malcolm D. Lee. The film follows a gifted violinist who becomes entangled in the world of a wealthy and mysterious family, where secrets seem to be hiding around pretty much every corner. Malcolm is the director behind favorites like the Best Man franchise and Girls Trip, and now he's taking audiences somewhere much darker. Malcolm, welcome.
Man, I love that intro. That was awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Thank you for that. Strung starts with a talented musician getting what seems like the opportunity of lifetime. What drew you to the story and the tension at the center of it?
When I read Alan McElroy's script, I could not put it down. It just was a page turner. I was talking to it out loud. It was speaking to me. I was speaking back to it, and I just said I gotta dip my toe into this genre of thrillers and this erotic psychological thriller.
You've built a career directing comedies, dramas, and ensemble films that audiences really connect with. What was exciting about stepping into the thriller genre with Strung?
I think audiences still want to see these kinds of movies, and I love the opportunity to do something different and outside of my comfort zone. And not necessarily outside of my comfort zone, but something different that I hadn't done before. And it was nice to not have to cut to the joke, and just be able to tell the story with a different pacing, a different tone. And I want to challenge myself in that regard, get the right cast and get the right crew behind me. And this crew that I've been working with has been a crew that I've been with before and collaborated on many, many things. But to work with this cast was amazing as well.
Chloe Bailey carries so much of the story as Layla. What made her the right choice for this role, and what did she bring to the character?
Chloe, I hadn't worked with before, but I knew about her, and I thought she would be a great asset for this role. And when I saw her, and when we got to talking and we got to know each other a little bit more and work together, I was amazed by what she was able to do, because Layla has to do so many things in this movie and play so many different colors, from being emotional to being vulnerable to being sexy and maternal. And all kinds of colors that she had to play, that I was just like, wow, she really, really brought a lot to the table. And I'm very, very proud of the work that she did in this movie. She's really, really talented.
One of the things that makes this film work is the atmosphere and sense of there's something not quite right. How did you approach building that suspense without giving too much away?
Yeah, the thing is, everybody in this movie, every character in this movie is hiding something. It's most, emblematic by the little girl that she's tutoring, Zuri, with her actual mask. But everyone in this movie is masking something, whether it's trauma or grief or something to that effect. And I wanted to make sure that everything on the surface looked presentable and comely and beautiful and opulent. And so it started with the house. And you see this inviting environment that is a little antiseptic, but just like, oh, it's lush and it's beautiful. But underneath all of that, you find that there's some dark things.
And looking at your career, The Best Man, Girls Trip, and now Strung, what continues to inspire you as a storyteller, and what kinds of stories are you most interested in telling next?
Yeah, I am incredibly blessed to have the opportunity to get paid for what I love to do. And I want to keep challenging myself and bringing entertainment to audiences. That's the main thing. I like to have to entertain people and make them feel good, make them feel emotions one way or another. And in this case, we're taking them on a thrill ride. And in the future, I hope to do, the same kinds of things, whether it's with a thriller, whether it's a comedy or a musical or a drama. I love, working with actors and bringing a vision to life for audiences to enjoy.
Malcolm, I want to thank you for joining me today. Strong is now streaming on Peacock. You can watch the film and learn more by visiting peacocktv.com. Malcolm D. Lee, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, Dan.
Summer is a great time to catch on the shows and movies everyone's talking about, but whether you're at home or on the road, Netflix has packed a lineup this season, plus some features that can help travel and family movie nights even easier. So joining us today is Vanessa Lachey, host of Love is Blind, The Ultimatum, and to share what's coming to Netflix this summer. Welcome to the show, Vanessa. How are you, my friend?
Thank you for having me. I'm good.
That's good to hear. I hear Netflix has a huge lineup this summer. What are some of the movies and shows that you think people should be adding to their watch list this year?
Ooh, well, I'm just excited to talk about all the fun things Netflix that people don't really know about. I get an in because I'm always here and I'm boots on the ground here at actual Netflix. But coming up, we have Enola Holmes 3. That's going to come out July 1st. For the sports fans, the MLB Home Run Derby is going to be live July 13th, which is always fun for people to watch live. The Ultimatum, as you mentioned, season 4, the show that my husband and I do, comes out July 15th, which is my wedding anniversary. What a gift. There's just something for everyone. Oh, Little House on the Prairie is going to be premiering on Netflix July 9th, and it's a beautiful reimagining of the original. But what's so great over the summer is all the features that Netflix has to offer that you just alluded to. They can download a movie or a show or the entire season. There's some really amazing remind me buttons because we all have a lot going on in our minds as it is, so we don't need to also think about when that show is going to drop that they're excited about. And the parental controls are bar none that really make it safe for our kids to be on the app and navigating the app because you have control as the parent. And what's really beautiful about Netflix Playground specifically for little kids is that there's no ads and there's no in-app purchases. So it's just a kid being a kid, playing games with characters they love that are on Netflix, like Peppa Pig or Sesame Street and Big Bird, Gabby's Dollhouse. So it's a really safe place for them to take a break, come in, or if you're traveling, you're sitting on a plane for 5 hours, you can know that they have a safe space to go to.
All right, let's get to that season 4 of Ultimatum. Can you tell us more about this season and what kind of makes it a fun summer watch?
Oh my goodness. Well, I think that The Ultimatum is always a fun watch period because every season is so different. And it's really a great way for people to watch these couples, how they navigate their relationships, how they navigate their trial marriages, and then when they get back to their original couple, and just kind of see what works and what doesn't work. Because I feel like so often we don't get the luxury of a third-person perspective in relationships. And when I watch it with Nick, we actually talk to each other. Like, did you see how they handled that fight? Or, oh my gosh, she was doing that. Would you do that? And you kind of clock what works and what doesn't work or what's crazy or what's not crazy. And it's a great way for relationships, I think, to get stronger. Or you kind of see the writing on the wall and you're like, man, this person is like this in the show and I need to run kind of thing. These are red flags that I'm not seeing, but he does the same thing or she does the same thing. So it's great that it takes real life into accountability.
All right, and you also mentioned something about travel and how Netflix can make it easier. Can you tell us about some of the Netflix features or hacks that can make that easier?
I was surprised when I was telling my friends how people aren't aware of downloading on the app. You don't have to have Wi-Fi all the time to be able to access Netflix. In fact, what we do in our household is before we have long trips when we're going coast to coast, flying or whatnot, is the kids sit down and they pick their favorite movie or shows and we download them prior. So I'm at home with my Wi-Fi, my strong Wi-Fi, we've got it on there. And then wherever you are, when you're traveling, it's accessible to you in your profile. So the kids will just click their profile and then whatever they've downloaded is there. And you can take it a step further and do the subtitles. So if you're, on a plane or if you're in the car and everyone's kind of got their thing going on, you can add reading to it and make it an interactive show, if you will. But again, the parental controls that I spoke about earlier, that's just a really big thing that I think is important for parents and for kids nowadays.
Vanessa Lachey, I really want to thank you for joining me today to explore everything coming to Netflix this summer, including new series, movies, games, and family favorites. Visit Netflix.com or open the Netflix app to browse the latest releases and set reminders for upcoming premieres. Vanessa, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Have you ever wondered what it would be like to bring out one of the most beloved family stories ever told to a new generation? Little House on the Prairie is now streaming on Netflix, introducing the Ingalls family to longtime fans and first-time viewers alike. Today, we're joined by Luke Bracey and Crosby Fitzgerald, who play Charles and Caroline Ingalls. Welcome to the show, you two. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
Very well. Thanks for having us.
I'm doing great. My mom was a huge fan of Little House on the Prairie, so I just grew up watching all of the old shows. And it has meant so much to generations of readers and viewers. What was your first reaction when you found out that you'd be playing Charles and Caroline Ingalls?
Oh, I sort of screamed and cried, I think. Yeah, it's daunting, but it was extremely exciting because I loved the scripts and I really trusted the creators of the show and was ready to sort of take on this new approach to the literature.
Yeah, I was thrilled to play this character of Charles because I just saw kind of a wonderful story and a good man. And I think the world needs nice stories about people trying to be good people and trying their best in a hard world and realizing that they need their family and they need their community. And, you know, that was the real thrill for me when it came to this job. It's a nice story about people trying their best and not always succeeding and not being perfect. I just thought that was a wonderful opportunity and a wonderful story to have the privilege of being a part of.
And this series honors the original stories while creating something fresh for today's audience. How did each of you guys approach making these iconic characters your own?
I think, you know, I wanted to honor what was in the books and kind of what we know of Caroline vaguely, but I also was really excited to sort of see her as a human who is flawed and complex and, you know, it has a lot of room to grow. And that's what I loved about the script, I think. And there was a lot in the script that I got to play with, I think, in learning about Caroline as a full person who's, you know, a wife and a mother is just two of the many things that she is. And I love how the script did that in these stories.
And one of the things people have always loved about Little House on the Prairie is that it celebrates family while never shying away from the realities of frontier life. What do you think audiences will connect with most in this new adaptation?
I think they might connect with the fact that life's always been difficult. You know, life's difficult now, and life was difficult then, and life's going to be difficult in the future. But if you've got good people around you and you're trying to be a good person, you've got good kind of core of people helping each other, be that family or community or friends or whatever it is, that's where you really succeed in life rather than just doing it yourself. No one really makes it by just doing it themselves. I think that might be something that people take from it. It takes a village to get far in life. It's really hard to just be a one-man band and try and break through the realities of the world, which are that there's things that are going to come and try and drag you down. And without other people around you, you won't get through them.
And whether someone grew up with the books or the original television series or experienced Little House on the Prairie for the very first time, what do you hope they take away from this version?
I think it's such a great, it takes a greater view of the prairie and of the frontier. I think that's what's really excited about our series. And I don't know, there is something timeless about looking at history through the eyes of a child, because we have children all the time that are experiencing life now, and it will one day be history. And I think it's really important to see, you know, history in sort of through the lens of a child in a sort of an aspirational way that we can all kind of learn from.
Yeah, there's hope there, right? Yeah. There's hope that even though life is tough, it can be you can make it through the tough times. I think that's what children always have. They can see that life might be hard, but they always see out the other side of it somehow. They have to.
Hey, I want to thank you two for joining me today. Little House on the Prairie is available now to stream on Netflix. Luke Bracey, Crosby Fitzgerald, I want to thank you two for joining me today.
Thank you very much for having us. Good to talk to you.
What happens when somebody who's already built a career in music and business decides to tell a different kind of story? Splash City is a new crime drama set in the city of San Francisco, exploring family, loyalty, and choices that changes a life. Today, we're joined by the film's executive producer, co-writer, and co-director, Berner. Welcome to the show. How are you, my friend?
Thank you for having me. I'm feeling good.
It's good to have you here. You've had success in the music business, your own personal business, but Splash City is your first feature film. What made this the right time to tell this story?
I feel like I've already done so much music already. I've already done, I wrote a book, got the New York Times bestseller with my book recently. So I'm like, right now, film makes the most sense. It's like the next level of storytelling for me, I feel like.
And this movie follows two brothers. They're trying to escape a very different paths. What about it, that relationship, that made you want to build a film around it?
I feel like we all know a pair of brothers that go through different things. I have a brother, and I've met multiple brothers that have someone going down the right path, doing the right thing, and then someone just kind of influenced by the wrong crowd, right? It's something we all grew up with, at least if you kind of come from the streets, or you kind of come from a rougher upbringing. So I feel like we wanted to address that. And the whole, period of time in San Francisco where the smash and grab was so real. It was a really big thing for quite some time in SF.
And you centered all of this around San Francisco. And a lot of film and media, we get the Olsen twins from Full House, we maybe get The Room, but you decided to do an authentic approach to attach to that city. What made you do that and why?
I'm born and raised here. I feel like it's missing. Like, you never see the other side of SF. You would either see, like you said, Full House, Mrs. Doubtfire,
you're right.
Old School Cuffs with Christian Slater. It was all great. But one, it's a beautiful city. It deserves to be on camera. And two, there's a whole nother world that no one's even seen before. So that's what we're here for.
You've worn a lot of hats on this project. You're executive producer, you're writer, co-director. What do you think you learned about filmmaking that surprised you the most?
Everything. I think the biggest thing I learned was you have to have a great line producer. I learned that the hard way. But other than that, I feel like I learned just on how to fund a film, how to run a tight ship to get the shots you need done. I learned a lot about post, mixing, sound design, the whole nine. So I feel like we're gamed all the way up right now.
And a lot of the time, you learn something when you start a film. If you could go back in time, whisper in your ear on day one when you're starting things out, what would be one of the little pieces of advice that you'd give yourself on day one that would make the project, filming, and everything much better or easier?
Probably would have focused on the way to preserve the budget a little more. We did this film for $2 million. It looks like a $10 million film, honestly. The quality of it, the way we executed it. But I feel like I could have maybe kept that budget a little tighter. Okay. I should have paid attention a little more to logistics.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for any filmmakers out there?
Yeah, just take your time to plot it out. We went head first. We didn't really think about talent's going to stay here. We have to get them over here. We're going to shoot here. And tomorrow, I would rather just get the logistics all the way down first,
Anything that you are working on next that we might be knowing about?
Yeah, I'm working on a scripted series about my life, about cookies and whatnot, so that's going to be tight. It's with a pretty big studio. We'll announce that soon. I'm working on my next feature film. It's like a marijuana trafficking film, and maybe like a urban type horror.
All right, I want to thank you for joining me today. Splash City is available now in select theaters across the country. Please go to their website and check out where you could find Splash City airing near you.
Thank you.
Thanks, bud.
Appreciate it.
Have you ever wondered what happens after military service ends? Every year, about 200,000 veterans transition to civilian life, and finding the right career can be one of the biggest challenges they face. Joining us is Meredith Erickson from Capital One to talk about the resources that help veterans and military families take that next step. Welcome to the show, Meredith. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having us here today.
Well, it's great to have you here today. Looking back on your own experience, what do you wish you had known when transitioning into a corporate career?
First and foremost is that there's a lot of skills that we have that are transferable, that we might not think are skill needed for a role, but remembering that, leadership, accountability, the ability to make decisions on the fly, those are all great skills that the corporate environment uses every single day. And the other thing I think that's beneficial to know is that your journey is your journey, right? So your path isn't necessarily going to be the same path that another person transitioning has, but just making sure that you're starting that journey, you're going out there, you're finding the resources, you're networking, start it now while you can, while you have time. That way you're really kind of setting yourself up for success when you finally do make the plunge over to your civilian career.
Can you tell us more about Hiring Our Heroes and other programs that can help veterans and military families find meaningful careers?
Yes. So obviously there are a lot of nonprofits out there that help with transitioning military, whether it's mentorship or resume writing. One of the amazing ones that we work with here at Capital One is Hiring Our Heroes that we've been partnering with since 2011. And it's a great program that takes transitioning military or spouses and puts them into real roles at companies. So here at Capital One, you get a full-time role, you're working on real projects that are part of our mission, and you get to work alongside experienced professionals on projects and get real-time feedback. So it allows those people within that fellowship program the ability to kind of test drive a corporate environment and a new culture and a new career before they're even out of the military. So it's a great opportunity and experience for those transitioning.
So how can companies do a better job of recruiting, hiring, and supporting veterans and their families?
It's a great question. And obviously every, corporation is different with their ability to support. Here at Capital One, we've got a team dedicated with military recruiters. But it could be, just having one person on staff that's able to really understand a resume and look for those skills that are transferable over to those civilian roles. Another way companies can be super supportive is by allowing that flexibility. Our military spouse community typically has to start over every 2 to 3 years when they're having to move along with their spouse to the next station that they're going to be living their life at. So potentially having roles that are virtual based so that that person can continue to grow their career as opposed to having to restart a job every few years can be life-changing for them being able to support and provide for their families.
What is Salute and what role does it play in supporting veterans and military families at Capital One?
Salute. It's near and dear to my heart. So we have a business resource group here at Capital One that's focused on military. It's available to all of our associates, though, to join and support. It's an internal program where we can have our associates get peer support, networking opportunities. There's dedicated program for benefits, guest speakers, and it also allows for our members to come in and serve and go out into the communities and volunteer and continue that innate desire to serve.
All right, where can people go for more information?
It's a great question. And the internet is your friend. Obviously, like I said, there are a lot of great nonprofits out there that provide support, whether, again, it's mentorship or resume help or fellowship programs like Hiring Our Heroes. Here at Capital One, we have a very great careers page at our CapitalOne.com careers/military. It has a lot of tips and tricks. It's got some great tools, including our skills translator tool, where an individual can go in and type in their skills that they used in the military, and it's going to help translate those skills into some of the roles and skills that are needed by businesses.
Meredith, I really want to thank you for joining me today.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.
And that does it for today's episode of Rise and Unwind, aka your weekly excuse to procrastinate productively. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Truly, you could be anywhere, and yet you chose this delightful show. We appreciate that. Make sure you follow our socials at Rise Unwind and check out the website to stay updated at riseunwindtv.com. Stay fabulous, stay curious, and stay slightly over-caffeinated. And we'll see you next week on Rise and Unwind.